Hey guys, today we're going to be weathering a Broadway Limited AC 6000 and HO scale. And this has DCC and sound. I went ahead and already masked up the windows. Today I'm just going to show you how I weather it. And we're just going to real lightly coat this and just give it a nice little, just a nice little bit of fading to it to represent a heavily used locomotive, a little bit older one. One thing I should mention real quick before we start is that I actually already did go ahead and give it a clear coat. That's just going to remove any fingerprints or anything like that, and it's going to also let this paint just stick a little bit better to the model as opposed to the factory paint. A good way to keep track of how much blue you're putting on, or how much white over the blue, excuse me, is to take a look at the darker colors, because that really isn't going to show up that well on the lighter gray here. Now we'll go ahead and fade down the back as well. Should be able to see some noticeable fading here on the yellow. And you're going to want to get at it from different angles. That's just going to make sure that it's completely covered and that you're not going to have any unfaded spots behind any grab irons or handrails or anything like that. Just make sure it's nice and even. And actually what I'm going to do before I go ahead and start on the other side is put the engine itself on a block of wood. That's going to allow me to handle the block of wood without touching any parts that I just painted. So I got a bit of a shorter one, so I'm going to position it here like so. And we'll continue with this side. As you can see, I have my airbrush set on a real light setting. It's always better with an airbrush just to do really light, small coats, because you can always go back and add more. However, with an airbrush, when you add extra or add too much, it is actually very difficult to go back and take that off. Another thing I do when I'm fading, you just want to make sure you get all the angles here. And then compare both sides. You don't want one side more heavily faded than the other. So I'm actually going to come back and do just a little more on this side. Okay, now we're going to clear coat it. I've given my fade coat about an hour to dry. So what I use is this matte finish by Krylon. You can just pick it up at Lowe's or Home Depot, maybe Ace Hardware. One of those three should have it. But anyways, it works the same as the stuff from Testors, but it's just a lot cheaper, and I've had great results. Never really had any major problems with this stuff, so it works great, and it's a good price. So we'll shake it up a little bit. And just a light coat, it'll just kind of seal in the coat of paint that we applied earlier. Just nice big even sweeps, making sure you get the entire engine. And then of course the top as well. And we'll let that dry for a little bit and come back for the next step. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is apply a little bit of dirt and grime here to the locomotive. So I'm going to go ahead and get some weathering powders and just wet it down just a little bit. I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a minute. And it's going to look really bad at first, but trust me, it'll turn out okay. We're going to go ahead and just coat the side of the engine here. There's different washes and stuff that people apply, and there's different ways to do it. I'm not saying this way is the best. It's just what I've found that gives really great results, and that's what I wanted to share with you guys. And we're done. No, just kidding. Next what we're going to do is take a little bit of water and try to remove as much as we can. As you can see, you may have noticed I did remove the handrails for this step. It just makes it a lot easier as far as applying this coat. So I got a paper towel damp. I'm just going to fold it in half here, get most of the water out. And the great thing about these weathering powders is that if you mess up or anything like that, you can always just take them off. So it's gonna, like I said, just look bad here at first for a little bit. As you can see, as you start wiping away, it's really going to give you a nice finish here on the side of the locomotive. You can see the paper towel here is pretty dirty. You can just fold it over, get a new sheet, and start over if you have to. So again, the purpose of this step is really just to apply a little bit of dirt and grime to some of the cracks and stuff along the locomotive here. And we'll come back later and darken up all these grills and stuff. As you can see, you kind of fold it up into a knob here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. And we're actually going to go back and do that again. I took off just a little bit too much there. A little bit more. So pretty much that's all I've done so far. Going forward, we're going to add a couple of rust spots right here. A lot of times you'll notice some peeling paint and rust on the AC cabinets here, and then also just a little bit of rust on the sun as well. So in order to give it a little bit of depth, we're actually going to do, to give the rust a little depth, we're going to do black first, and then a light coat of brown on top of the black. It's just going to help it stand out a little bit. So anyways, here I have my cap. It's got a little bit of paint in it after I just shook it up, and we're just going to add just a little bit of rust here to the top of the cabinets. And you can do this in several different ways. You can either look at prototype pictures and see
you know, kind of how the rest looks, or you can kind of just, you know, you can look at those prototype pictures and do it exactly like it looks. Or what I like to do is kind of get a feel, look at several different road numbers and locomotives, and see kind of what looks best. And so just kind of capturing the overall look of it, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. You can see just applying some paint here, and we're going to do a little bit on the bottom as well. Alright, so as you can see here, I finished up the rust on the side of the locomotive. I did go back over with brown. And now we're going to go and apply some of the road dirt and grime along the bottom of the locomotive here. So I have a custom mix. I kind of just eyeballed it. It's a mix between flock quill aged concrete. It also has some, let's see what we have here, flock quill foundation, some UP gray, and then a little bit of rust brown, and then I thinned it about 40 to 50%. So anyways, as you can see here, test it out, have a nice color, and we'll just go over the locomotive nice and light. Something to keep in mind here, so you don't get parts that are heavier than others. What I did there was just get the back of the fuel tank. You don't want to go like this. You don't want to go back and forth, because then you're going to get heavier spots here where you turn around. So it's better to go back and forth like this and let your hand off the paint gun, off the trigger when you turn around. Otherwise you're going to get heavier spots where you turn around. So it's an airbrushing trick that has worked pretty well for me. I always recommend looking at it under different light, so we'll take away the spotlight here. I think that's looking pretty good. And again, you just want to make sure you get all angles on all sides of the locomotive. And there we go, a nice light coat of paint there. Bring the spotlight back on. I think that's looking pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and let this dry for a while, and then we'll go ahead and clear coat it again with our matte finish by Krylon. It's pretty much every step of the way I give it a clear coat just to seal everything in and make sure everything's in. By the time we're said and done, we probably have 5 or 6 total clear coats on the locomotive. Just nice light coats so you don't get too thick a paint coat on there. But anyways, we'll let this dry and we'll be back.